Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello, it is League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys, and as is tradition, before Worlds actually starts, where almost every single year you're guaranteed a little bit of juicy off-season news and the drama this past weekend, it sounds like it's the return of the king. When we're talking about North America, upcomer, we got some news that Bjergsen is looking and ready to play competitively again in 2022. Mark, 1 year off for coaching.
It's crazy. We had last year the trials of, is Perks going to be leaving G2? Is Reckless going to be leaving Fnatic? And now we get another big juicy rumor in, is Bjergsen coming back to the game? Is he unretiring, as you said? This is going to be it. This is going to be the big juicy rumor for the summer so far. And if there's any spicier meatballs in the pipeline, oh boy, we've got a heck of an offseason on our way.
So there's a lot to talk about with Bjergsen. And first and foremost, let's remember, this isn't a guy who was getting slammed clearly on his last legs when he did announce his retirement. He had one of his best years. He was one of, if not the best mid laner in the LCS again. Yes, he had the 0-6 run at Worlds, but throughout the summer split, he was playing fantastically at an MVP level. So I have no doubt that he can immediately sit back into that starting role and be a professional player again, because his mechanics were keeping up. If you watch any of his streams throughout the entire split, he was still fully invested in the game.
Nothing I've seen over the past year would lead me to believe that Bjergsen would be out of pace or out of place, either one of those two, for the LCS and being a starting mid laner, taking the role. Any of those situations, I've got no problem seeing him stepping right back into that spot. Because as you said, when you do look back at the last year of playing competitively, throughout the entirety of that year, there were some struggles for TSM, but the consistent thing, and throughout the history of TSM, has been Bjergsen and the role that he can play in the mid lane for the team. Yes, the disappointment of the 0-6 was the whole team to TSM at Worlds, and Bjergsen was part of that with his individual performance on the international stage. But yes, overwhelmingly, the data feeds back to tell you that yes, he's not going to be out of place.
So if this rumor is true, then the question becomes, well, where's he going? Where would he play? I know most teams would want a Bjergsen on their team, but can you really see him leaving TSM? But on the same side, what do you do if you're TSM? If you're Reggie, you just say PoE, you know what? Oh, you're a resident now. You don't take up an import slot. That's great. That means we can sell you off for pretty good money, because Bjergsen is TSM. And on the same side of that, can he even play for another team when he's a minority owner on TSM? That screams conflict of interest to me.
Absolutely. That is the juicy parts that do need to be talked about, because that's the juiciest thing about this Bjergsen rumor about him coming back is, well, where are you coming back? Where are you playing? Where are you taking a spot? And of course, I think when you talk about the TSM situation and that side, the idea of them selling him off to somewhere, that doesn't fly with me, and I bet that doesn't fly with any of the TSM diehard fan base. I can't imagine their reaction if they were just to sell off Bjergsen for a couple of extra V-Bucks to spend in Fortnite. Not what they want to be looking at as an organization. And then the question is, even as far as, what you could do as Bjergsen if you wanted. If it was Bjergsen that wanted to take another step away from TSM and build a new path, a new legacy, does he want to go back to the LEC? Where right now, if he goes back to the LEC, he's taking up an import slot, and he's taking up a spot from one of these young EU mids that we keep getting from the ERL. Going to be a crazy, crazy offseason following this rumor.
And who knows, maybe there's some behind the scenes going on. We've kind of joked about it. It sounds like G2's roster's blowing up. Reckless has been linked to TSM before. We know Bjergsen is the player that he's always wanted to play with in North America. So, if TSM does just say, okay, PoE, thank you for your service, catch you on the next episode, Bjergsen slots in mid, Reckless comes in at 80 carry, you'll never have a bigger fan base surrounding a TSM roster like that. Otherwise, is a role swap out of the question mark? We saw Xiaohu go to the top lane. Maybe Bjergsen slips into that top side of the map.
I think when you're talking about that type of specific role swap, Gotta be careful. Gotta catch yourself.
That's how you come back with a bang. Not only do you unretire to a different role.
And with Bjergsen and his skill set and the way that he approaches the game, absolutely possible. I will put some doubt into the type of transition that Xiaohu made. The way when you look at Bjergsen and his champion pool doesn't exactly apply the same way I would feel to the top side.
Haven't seen the Bjergsen Gnar yet. Haven't seen that.
Haven't seen that. And, to be fair, Xiaohu's doesn't exactly always fit either. But it does a little bit better, I think, than, say, for Bjergsen to make that type of transition. The one that I think would be really spicy and add something to it is, could you imagine if Bjergsen goes down to the bottom lane and pairs himself alongside Sword Art? Get a little bit of ADC action.
Yeah, and that's... Listen, obviously, Perks is the example. You think of mid to AD carry. The AD carries have been played mid throughout different metas. I just think that this year of coaching, I'm hoping that maybe it's revolutionized, or it's obviously reinvigorated him wanting to play professionally, and maybe he's going to have a totally different mindset when he does come back to playing again, if it does happen. Because the main critique with him over the years has been he's been too passive, right? There's been moments you've wanted to see him play more aggressively, been more confident in his own play, and maybe that's something that he's picked up while coaching.
It could be, and one of the things that I think if you are in this reality of him coming back and playing for the team, one of the ones that I'd be looking at is how he operates the jungle synergy with Spica, right? He's been there. He's been with TSM forever, all the way through Spica's development with the organization.
His entire career.
Exactly. And so it'd be something to see that you would want to see with Bjergsen, having taken that step back and stepping back into the spotlight with the roster. You would want to have that back and forth, not of, okay, anything Bjergsen does, again, back to the 4 wards type of situation. I think what we have seen with Spica is that you want him to be vocal. You want his input a lot of times in these games on what's going on to push a lot of these things from TSM. And that would be one I would look at specifically, that the synergy between Spica and Bjergsen. How would that work?
Right, because now you've got Spica playing at an actual MVP level. So pairing him alongside Bjergsen, regardless of if he's been off for a year. I know PoE just had a great season, which is what makes this a little difficult. Maybe there were already murmurs that Power Vivo was going to go to a different squad. We know in the LCS, he spends 1 year on a team, 2 splits, and then he's on to the next one. The guy's a mercenary in the LCS.
Yeah, and I think when you do look at the situation that you kind of rumored and we joked about, is that if TSM is starting to put together that type of contract, that type of situation to make a proposal, an offer to getting Reckless on the team in that bottom lane, the big fish that they'd want to be reeling in, at that point, do you think they've had those discussions and Bjergsen goes, well, yeah, we could be getting PoE with a green card, but what if I stepped in already with my green card? That's the way we solve it.
Sign right here, sir. Sign on the dotted line, and we'll have you back. Either way, this is going to be an incredibly fun story to monitor throughout. He was even definitely memeing on stream with Doublelift in the DMs that it's the return. Doublelift's coming back too. I think he's doing too well on these co-streams for Doublelift to consider coming back.
If there's anything we have also seen this past year, very different levels of involvement and engagement between Doublelift and Bjergsen. Bjergsen, for sure, yes, coaching and streamer, different roles. But what we have seen from Bjergsen is that commitment, that integration still with the competitive scene. And Doublelift, I would absolutely say, has moved much more so into the entertainment side.
And remember, we were seeing Bjergsen, I think, was playing like the second most solo queue out of anyone on the team, and he's not even a player, and he's playing the second most solo queue. We know he's been an absolute grinder when it comes to actually putting in the effort outside of scrims. So no reason to think he wouldn't be able to fit right back into that pro scene. But again, fantastic if he is coming back, and something we will follow as the off season goes on.